My name is Stacy Driscoll, and I am a former elementary and special ed teacher. I then got my graduate certificate in assistive technology from UNH, and I now work for the statewide Assistive Technology Act program. So every state has an AT program, and we are charged with providing demonstrations and loans for decision-making purposes, so not financial loans, but loans of devices, as well as providing training, technical assistance, public awareness, in order for people to learn more about assistive technology. So every state works a little bit differently. In New Hampshire, we have partners throughout the state. Some states have loan libraries. We do not have a loan library, but we work through our partners, and so people can contact us. We can refer you to one of our partners in order to be provided with a demonstration and or a loan. So it's usually a 30-day loan in order to be able to determine is something going to work for you or not. So what I have brought with me, I've brought some examples of some assistive technology. I have my iPad, I have some pictures on there, I have some apps that we can talk about. We can talk about the accessibility features that are on the iPad that are built in so that you can learn a little bit about that. But I want this to be beneficial to you. So if you can just tell me a little bit about who you are, what you're hoping to learn, what you know a little bit about assistive technology, and then we can go from there, because I can kind of tweak my presentation to meet what it is that you are looking for. So if you don't mind starting.
Sure, my name is Maria Siefer. I'm a mother of a 5-year-old. His name is Alexander. He has complex medical history, epilepsy, developmental delay, and stuff like that. Currently, he started gaining in development, so we've been working harder on that, and actually trialed for a communication device.
Okay.
Any idea that would benefit for him and make his life more comfortable from access or standpoint?
Okay.
Would be great.
Okay.
That's why I'm here to learn more about what's out there.
Okay, and we'll talk about some things, and you can ask questions as we're going along of what might be more beneficial for you, and I can try to answer those questions for you.
Thanks.
So, if you want to introduce yourself.
Sure, my name is Dana Spellheber. I work for a nonprofit called Dreamcatchers New Hampshire, and our audience is anyone with a disability and IDD. So it's interesting to me to see what some of the things that are available for the members we try to serve.
Okay, excellent. All right, so let's kind of start with some of the assistive technology, and then we'll get to the iPad and go from there. So I'm going to refer to assistive technology in New Hampshire as AT-in-NH. So when I say it quickly, it's AT-in-NH, so it's assistive technology in New Hampshire. So the director of AT-in-NH is Therese Wilkham, who is internationally known as the Magnifier of assistive technology. So we just finished up a grant that we received through the Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation, and that grant we were able to do, we said we were going to do 14 workshops, we ended up doing 16 workshops, and so with that, people who attended created a variety of assistive technology devices. This is corrugated plastic. We did universal cuffs using some Velcro brand One Wrap. So we made a variety of devices. People were able to take those with them. If they were a service provider, they then gave that to an individual who experiences paralysis, and they would then receive that. If the individual themselves needed it for themselves, then they would just keep that. So let me just talk a little bit about what these are, how we created them, and we are having a Maker's Fair in September, so I'm spending a lot of time right now in the planning of this Makers Fair. It's September 29th. It's national. We have a planning committee that is a national planning committee, and it's going to be in Concord at the Grapponi Center. So if anyone would like to take one of these, save the date. We have a website as well. Right now it's just a landing page. Hopefully today, maybe by Tuesday, we'll have that all complete. So this is a book-a-lean, and so you can have this here. You could lean your paper. I'm going to pull this off. Will hold a full book, a full piece of paper. It is adjustable, so if whatever angle you need it on. So it's then hands-free. You could put it on your lap. We also did a slant-a-lean, which is a little less of a slant for someone to put on their lap. And then we made some clips, and this is on here with removable tape on the back. And so if you were to have a book and needing to hold that open, we can have this open here. It would hold the pages open. Put it on both sides. So, and I have, if you want to see more or videos, I have things on my iPad. Corrugated plastic, so it's recycled election signs, but you can also purchase the corrugated plastic. Home Depot has it, Lowe's has it, and then it's also, these are Carly Fiorini signs. We got a whole bunch, huge 8-foot by 4-foot, and cut those all down. And then this is the Pocket Eileen, so same thing, but it's going to be able to hold your iPad. Even though it's really small, it still will hold the iPad. It will hold it going both directions as well. So if I didn't have that plugged in, it would work there. So Pocket Eileen, so that that can also be hands-free. We made a universal cuff, and so with this universal cuff, so for somebody who may not be able to hold their silverware or their pen correctly, can't hold it in their hand, but may need to have a cuff that will work for them, that will hold on their hand. So now I don't have to grasp this is on my hand. And then, so we could put the pen, right in here, but then we only have one direction. So I'm trying to eat, if this was a spoon, and this is only going one direction, maybe I can't get my hand around. And so by using this industrial twist tie, so this is the industrial twist tie, it's a 17-inch industrial twist tie is what it's called. And so it's kind of rubbery, it will grip, it's soft. I can pass around any of these things, so anything you want to touch and hang on to. So this is just bent, and then it's stuck in the pocket of the industrial twist tie. And then we can put, and these are bendable, so we can get whatever we need in there. So if I needed it to go this way, if I needed a paintbrush, and I might have the paintbrush, I can go this way. So lots of different ways to make this adjustable, and in order for an individual who may not be able to grasp something using the universal cuff. Okay, while we're on that, I'm going to just talk a little bit more about some of the things that are commercially available. So this is the Easy Hold, and so it actually is available in, do you like that? So this is, if you want to play with that while you're here, you're welcome to do that. So this is the Easy Hold, and this is a bigger hole, so for a brush, but they do have them so that it comes with a smaller hole, so for a pencil and things like that. And then again, I can put my hand in here, I don't need to grasp. So for somebody who independently needs to do that. This is a whole lot of kitchen stuff, but there are also commercially available, like the spoon that just has the grip, so you could put your finger on it in order to hold that as well. Lots of different, this is one as kids get a little bigger, maybe wanting to be cooking. So this is so that you don't cut yourself. So it's made of steel, but it's still really soft. So I'm left-handed, so I would put it on my right hand. I'm trying to cut so that I don't cut my other hand. This is going to protect my other hand. So I will, and there's one size of that. I have tiny fingers, and it's just a little bit big on me. This is a grip for a cup that is actually handmade. My friend decided and I've since started loom knitting, and these are the little circles, the little circle elastics that kids make bracelets out of. And so in just weaving that together, making a grip, so you could make a grip I have one that's on my knitting needle, but you could also make a grip for a pencil. It's just soft, it's going to be a little bit bigger, and so she made this for a cup. So the cup itself is really slippery, so somebody who has difficulty holding that, they could drop it. Making this, it's easy to come on and off, washable. You slide it on, makes it a little bit more of a grip. Also thinking about rubber bands, so putting rubber bands around a cup would also give it a little bit more of a grip. So that's another thought. Oh, and then there is this magic stuff. This is lock lift rug gripper tape. So this goes on the bottom of a rug to hold a rug in place, and it works very well. I've used it at home. It rips really easily, and with that, it is not just for rugs. You can use this to hold anything down that you might need to hold down. So a child needs their paper in place. They may only have the use of one hand. Maybe they're having difficulty holding the paper down and trying to write, so this will hold the paper in place. So you put this down, you put your paper on. I think I like to describe this kind of like a Post-it note. And with a Post-it note, over time, it's going to lose its stickiness. If you just leave it there, it's going to stick and it's going to be fine. You keep pulling it off, you're then going to replace it. Post-it notes are not overly expensive. This is not overly expensive. You get a really big, I mean, this is pretty much to the end of the roll. The roll is like this big, and it's like $12.95. So this is really great. It will hold things on a wall. You can use it if somebody needs to pick something up, so not able to bend over, and something light, you could put it on the end of some sort of a stick or a reacher, and it would stick on, picking a paper up, picking a penny up, things like that. Really good. Somebody in a wheelchair needing to hold something on their lap, and so this, it's not going to stain your pants, but putting that there so that they can hold that, and it's not going to slide off. So it's a beeswax material. Lock, lift, rug gripper tape. Okay. Talking a couple other things. I brought this keyboard. I keep this keyboard. I bought it at Five Below. It isn't this particular keyboard that I love, but what I always bring, this, just kind of keep it in my stash, is to talk about the fact that there are a variety of keyboards and mice available. So for somebody who is visually impaired, there are keyboards that have that contrast. There are keyboards that have larger keys. There are some for young children that have the vowels being a different color. There are all sorts of keyboards that are a different shape, so maybe one-handed use. So you would need to learn with that there are keys that are going to actually do multiple letters, so you have to push the shift and then the letter, so for one-handed use. But there are a variety of different keyboards and mice available. So just thinking about that, and not like, oh, well, this is the keyboard and they can't access that keyboard, so therefore they can't use a computer. That's not the case. So you want to make sure that you're aware that there are a lot of different adapted keyboards available. And most of them nowadays are just a USB. You just hook them right in. Most of them do not at this point. A lot before took a lot of software, and you'd have to put upload the software. A lot of them now are just USB plug and go, and I've also found that most of them will work both PC and Mac, so that they'll just work on either one, which is really great. In fact, there's a foot mouse that is available. Granted, that's for a very small population, but for somebody who can only access the keyboard with their feet, you can actually, it's a little dongle that goes in the side of in the USB, and then you can control that computer with your feet. It's a little harder than you think, oh, it's not going to be, you really had to have to put your weight down on it. This is the writing bird. And the writing bird, and I don't know, I'm going to use the back of this. So, I'm left-handed. So, I don't need to lift up. This is just going to glide along my paper. And so, the pen needs to go down a tiny bit more. And then I can sign my name. And I did not need to lift this up. I just kept it gliding along. And so it's not, I don't have great handwriting, I'm left-handed, but it is not as neat as my handwriting, but for somebody who may need that stabilization to write, that is a good solution. All right, does anyone know what these are? Okay, these are descalators, and so they go under a chair or a table. They can stack on top of each other. They wouldn't work on these tables, and the chairs have wheels, but when you have a chair with just your 4 legs, you would put one under each leg, and it would just bring it up a little bit, or your table. So if you needed to raise the table up to get a wheelchair underneath that table, or if you needed to lift the chair up a little bit, then these can go under, and then you would put the legs of the chair on here. If you needed something at an angle, you could do the 2 back legs, and then you would have that angle as well. They're also stackable, so they work that way. All right. I have the time timer watch. I was like, I think, I also have a Pebble watch in here, which they don't sell anymore. This is the time timer watch. If you're familiar, have you heard of the time timer? It's the visual timer, and so it comes in just, a wood timer that you would turn, and the time elapses, and you can see, okay, there's 15 minutes, you have 15 minutes, and you can see the red is going away, and you're almost out of time, to give children that visual of time and understanding time. And so they have that time timer. It's also an app. I'm pretty sure that it's iOS and Android. So you can have that visual. They can see, because it's really difficult for children when you say you have 10 minutes. Well, what does that mean? And so being able to see that that time is going by, oh, well, it's almost done, and realizing that time is going by. And so this is a watch, so for older students who may be able to handle having a watch and having that visual, not just the time, not just a countdown, because that still is just really, can be difficult for them to conceptualize, and having that concrete, being able to see the elapsed time. And so time timer, it comes in a variety. If you look up time timer, it comes in a variety of different options. I also have the Revibe. I don't love this. The point of this is, it's not a watch, but it's a vibrating wearable. And so you set it to be frequent or infrequent. It will then vibrate, but it isn't random. And I think kids get used to it. So what it is it vibrates, and then they have to think and cognitively say, oh, what am I supposed to be doing? Am I doing that? So may or may not work for students, but just something to know about. And really with any assistive technology, you really can't say, oh, this is the end-all, be-all. Every child, every adult is different. And so it's looking at what are the features that an individual needs, and then what does the device have, and what features match with what they have. So just because they may have attention difficulty doesn't mean that that is the right device. And just because I haven't seen that it really works. It doesn't mean that there isn't somebody that it would really be extremely helpful for. All right. Talking on that same, this is the Ditto, and so the Ditto connects to a smartphone. So for an individual who may need that wearable reminder, so this is wearable. This is $39 as opposed to like an Apple Watch or a Fitbit, which are going to be a lot more expensive. So you wear this here. Actually, the other half, I just don't have it attached because I don't want the battery going. Sorry. So this goes here, it's wearable, and then as you can see, there's no face on it, but it will vibrate attached to your watch. What I like is you can add that it tethers to your phone, so if you walk away from your phone, someone who tends to leave their phone behind, if you walk away from it, it's going to vibrate and you're going to say, oh, I forgot my phone. It will also vibrate when you have a text or a phone call. Again, you can't answer it from here, but it's going to inform you of that. You can also set alarms. So thinking about somebody who maybe have a hearing impairment, they may not hear the phone or the text, they would get the vibration. The vibration on this is stronger than the vibration on the Apple Watch. So it's really kind of interesting to see that is a different, stronger vibration. And then also having that as a timer. So for somebody who needs to have those reminders and being able to respond and know, having that physical haptic feedback. That was a word I was looking for. I'm just going to take the battery off of this. Okay. Two more things I want to show you. So I have the pocket talker. So we have, for someone who is hearing impaired, we have the pocket talker. It has the microphone in here. They would be able to wear this. You can take the microphone out. You can attach the wire so that if I was the one who needed to be talking and then someone else needed to hear what I'm saying, we would put the headphones here. You would take the headphones. You would be able to listen, and then we would connect the wire in order to have that. It's not wireless. And then I would have the microphone here so that you could then hear me. So we have the pocket talker. It can also be used with a TV. So for someone older who may be losing their hearing, you have two people in a room and the TV is blaring. You can use this also you put the microphone by the television and then you would be wearing this. There are other options as well if you have a smartphone for that. And then this is the AfterShokz. This was made for sports. It charges, so somebody who wants to listen to music but has hearing aids, so you can't put headphones over a hearing aid, you're going to get the feedback. This actually goes on the bone in front of your ears. So this goes right here. And so it's going to conduct that way. So somebody who has hearing aids would still be able to hear. And we had a great example of this. We were doing a workshop and there was a woman who said, hey, I want to take a walk. I want to be able to hear my music while I'm taking a walk. I have the hearing aids. And so Therese pulled those out and the woman tried them. They didn't go here. She had to put them in a few different places before she got the right spot. And then she started to cry. We all started to cry that she could finally hear her music. So
What's the name of it?
these are AfterShokz, and there's a few different versions of them. This is one of the older, I say older, it's probably 18 months older versions. Okay, so that's the AfterShokz. And there I think the newer versions tend to be about 100, but then the versions back tend to be a little bit lower, more in the 49, 59 range. Which brings me to thinking about when we look at, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit more with the iPad apps. So thinking about hearing, and we don't think about the amount of effort that goes into hearing and seeing and comprehension. And so thinking about the fact that we say, oh, somebody has a hearing impairment, and oh, well, they have hearing aids, so they're all good. The amount of effort. So I was doing a workshop, it was for a senior group, and I talked about an app called Ear Machine, and it just plays in the background, and with your headphones, will amplify the TV, whatever's happening in the room. And so I showed the app, said it's a free app, it's worth giving it a try, you can always delete it if you don't like it. A few days later, I was at a workshop, and I was at the Age of Champions at UNH, and this gentleman was there, that group had a table, and he came up to me and said, you showed Ear Machine, and for me, he said, I didn't realize how much effort it was taking to watch TV. And that was really eye-opening for me. And I was an elementary teacher for many, many years, a special ed teacher, and not thinking, I think it's important for us to realize how much effort it takes. And oh yes, they can hear you, but how much is that taking? And also thinking about vision. And I've worn glasses since I was 4. I was doing a lot of research a few years ago. I was taking PDFs, trying to read them on the iPad. And when you're reading these scholarly articles, that print is really small. Can I see it? Absolutely. So is my vision correctable? Yes, I can see it. I then pulled it into an app, and I'm going to show you Voice Dream Reader, and I was able to enlarge the text. And I enlarged the text, and I'm reading it, and I was understanding what I was reading. Where before, I'm like reading it in. So for me, again, we think like, oh, they can see it, they're fine. But how much effort? I was really concentrating on seeing those words and not understanding them. So think about that in some of those assumptions that we make of being able to see it or hear it can really impact the amount of comprehension. So that's just it's something over the last couple of years that I have come to be kind of passionate about, the fact that that wasn't something that I used to consider, and I think it's important to just kind of keep that in the back of our minds. All right, so let's talk about some apps and what's available on. I was going to show a little video, but I think we're going to skip that. All right. Let's, just kind of trying to decide where I want to go from here. All right, let's kind of look at some apps. So I talked about Voice Dream Reader. Let's start there. So this is Voice Dream Reader. This started as just an app that would read it out loud to you. You could change the text a little bit, and teachers said to the developer of this is an amazing app, and for students, and if it could just do this. And he continues to improve on this app, that it is an amazing app for students who have any difficulty reading. And so this is my bookshelf of what is on here. You can import items from Dropbox, Google Drive, Bookshare. Are you aware of what Bookshare is? Are you aware of Bookshare? Okay. And again, this is another one. I taught for 25 years and didn't know about Bookshare until I did the graduate certificate. And it was one of those, like, how did I not know this? So Bookshare is a free service for K-12 students through the Office of Special Education, so OSEP. they have books that are available for in digital form for anybody with a documented disability that interferes with reading. So if you have a visual impairment, if you have a physical impairment that you can't physically be able to access the book, or a documented learning disability. ADHD is kind of one of those, you got to prove more than just that. And so they ask for, you used to have to send in your information. Now they pretty much, as a special ed teacher, can just say, yes, that is the case. You can also pay for it as an individual who is not K-12. It used to be $75 a year, and then you can download books from there. So that is just a great option for students who are using Bookshare to be able to download that. So
Does it have to be a book, or it can be a PDF file, or
it can be a
Word document or something?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So you can bring any of those in here. So I'm going to pull up the importance of being earnest, and you can see this is pretty large. So you can also see it has the play, fast forward at the bottom, and a table of contents here in the bottom. Okay, so we can make our notes there. Up at the top, there's one that is a sound, and one is the 2 A's for our visual. So let's look at the vision. So we have this in plain text. We can change it to rich text. I'm going to leave it on the plain. We can change our font and our spacing. So this is where, if you want to change what the font is, there is a dyslexia font, dyslexia. So if someone has dyslexia and that font may be better for them, can change the size. You can also change the character spacing, line spacing. So if you need that to be larger, you can make your side margins larger. I'm going to just go back on that a little bit. So you can change your visual settings there. You can change your colors, so we can have it be light, dark, or custom. And then your color settings, you can do the color of the text, background, how you're highlighting it, how it's highlighting as it's going along. Your speech cursor, you can show as you want, and then if you want it free scrolling, so just going up and down, or whether you want it page by page to be turning, and that is, all preference. And then looking at the line visibility, so maybe you only want to see one line at a time, depending, so we have those, you kind of cut something out, and they would use on the book to go through. This is doing the same thing for a child. Okay, so that is the visual and looking at what it looks like. And then the speech. So we may want our speech rate to be faster, the language, the voice. This is on iOS Alex. Alex is the most robust voice. Alex comes with any of the iOS. You have to download it. It does take up a lot of space, but Alex will then read. He takes breaths. I refer to him as he. So while Alex is reading, he's taking breaths where you would normally take a breath. He's reading numbers correctly. So if it's $4.58, it's going to say $4.58, not $4.58. If it's however those numbers are, he's also going to read words like wind and wind correct in a sentence. So I think Alex is one of the better options for having something read aloud, to have it be the most more correct. So we have rewind and things like here that you can also. So let's just play this so you can hear it. Hang on, I want to just show you one other. I have to find where it is. That's not what I want. What this is on is Pac-Man mode. There we go. So the reading mode, of whether you want it to stop at the end of the document, to continue reading, finger reading, you put your finger on it and it will read it that way. I haven't gotten that to work really well. And then we have this, I'm going to turn it off, but there's also Pac-Man mode. Where is Pac-Man mode? That's why it's disappearing, is it's on Pac-Man mode. And I can't find where it is. Okay, I guess we're not going to turn that off, but that's why they're disappearing. And so for some people, that's better for those words to disappear. For others, I was actually working with an individual, and she was in high school, and for her, she really liked that. And her mother, when we first saw it, was just like, oh, and it just shows that for different people, you need to try it to see whether that's the right. And then also thinking about,
I'll certainly try to get that. Jack.
also thinking about the speed of listening. And so what we may hear and be able to comprehend at a speed is going to be different for each person. And so the more that I read, the faster a reader I become. And the reader that I was at the age of 10 and the reader I am now, I read much faster. Individuals who listen to text, that also increases. And so you may listen to something and think that's way too fast, they're not going to be able to understand that. Well, no, that's because your listening ability is not the same as their listening ability. So that was another eye-opening, I had never realized that. And so thinking about the more you read, the faster a reader you become, the more that you listen, the faster that happens as well. So somebody who might be visually impaired or blind, who's listening all the time, can go much faster because that's what they're always doing. So just thinking about that when trying to decide for a student. Let's look at, there are a lot of apps for creating books. So for either creating books or creating a book yourself and then having a student be able to read that. So this is Book Creator. Book Creator has great ability. You can then print them, you can share them as a PDF. So you can add in photos, you can add in videos, you can add in sounds. So you could be reading it aloud, a child could actually be narrating it themselves. So Book Creator can really give access to something that an individual couldn't otherwise have access to. And it's pretty, this is a pretty intuitive app. Like if you know anything about, the plus sign and adding and some of those icons, it is a pretty intuitive app to figure out. And they have the tutorial there. Overdrive is another one that I like to tell people about, and Overdrive is your library. And so if you have a library card, you can, and your library is a member of Overdrive, which I live in Pembroke, which is a small town, and we've had Overdrive for years. And so it's just like checking out your books at the library, but you're checking out digital copies of the books. So it has the books that you would read. It also has audiobooks. So thinking about being able to get audiobooks for students or being able to just get it in digital form, Overdrive is a nice way to do that. And again, you're checking it out of the library, so it's for, I think, 3 weeks for a book and a week for an audiobook. So just, it's the same parameters as that. And I'm not sure if you can renew. I think you may be able to, as long as someone isn't waiting for it. If there isn't a hold, yeah, I think, yeah, which I think would be the same at a library, yeah. Another thing I want to show you is some of the keyboards. So this is Ditto Plus. So you have to download the app, and then in having the app, you have to activate it in your settings. So in my settings, I'm going to go to General and then Keyboard. And then Keyboard. And so you can see that I have 5 keyboards. I have 5 keyboards that are attached to this. And so one of them is not Ditto. So I'm going to then add Ditto Plus. So that's at the bottom. I want it in English. Why do we not have English? Interesting. I will just go with this and add that. Oh, you know why? It's because I did already have it on here. I have the US one. Okay, so we added the keyboard, but in order to have it on, I need to, oh, this one you don't need to give permission. I'm going to look at this one. You need to allow full access to it, so make sure that you have full access. Now, when I go into something that has a keyboard, so I'm just going to go into Notes, because Notes is here, and I'm going to click on it. So it gives me the regular keyboard, okay? The regular keyboard has a microphone, so as long as I have Wi-Fi, that microphone shows up. So if I click the microphone, I can type with my voice. This is how I type with my voice. And I'm done, and you can also put in punctuation and all of that. So, and it's gotten much better to be able to do that. You can also see that we have word prediction up there, so if I need to use that for less key taps, that can be very helpful as well. Also realize that there are external keyboards, so for someone who needs the whole screen of the iPad or device, you can have an external keyboard as well. So now down here there's a little globe, and so I can hit my globe. It goes to my, okay. So now this is the SuperKeys keyboard. This is one that I added in. So this would not show up on yours. It's a keyboard that you need to add in. So if I were going to spell my name, I would have to hit the whole box that has the S. Then I get all of the letters here. I can click the S, the whole section with the T. I then hit the T. So for somebody who needs a larger area in order to be getting to those letters, SuperKeys is a great app. You can also change the colors on that as well. The thing with SuperKeys is realize that you're now doing 2 steps for every letter. So you need to weigh that of, well, now they have access to it, but is that good or not to have the 2 taps per letter? So now we can go back home. I want to go to, okay, so this is read write. So we have another keyboard that I've added here. We also have a variety of words, more words for our word prediction. And then we have our Ditto, so it's more of a children's font, and we can change the font on that as well. You can also change on these whether you want it to be a QWERTY keyboard or whether you want it to be ABCs. So if you wanted a child to be having the alphabet in order, I'm not seeing that so much that people are going that direction, because I think we're to the point that I think when typing was becoming kind of new, people were going with the ABC keyboard, but I think now we know that that's just going to become part of everything that we do, so teaching children the QWERTY right from the beginning seems to be a better option, but these do have that ability to change ABCs. All right, let's look at a couple of the clicker apps. Clicker apps are great. So this is Crick software. So if you've heard of Clicker 7 is on the computer, and then there are some apps that they have. And so let's look at Clicker sentences. Clicker sentences. So you can see it gives you some word choice. You can download all of these, what's called learning grids, and so you can download them. They're here, and then it would help for the student. So we have the sentence, and they would be copying this sentence, and they would say
butterfly lays eggs on a leaf.
and then the punctuation. And so they can change to a keyboard here. If they need a keyboard, they can have things read aloud to them. If they need to know what the word is, they have a return key. They have, if they want to delete as well. So let's go back here, and then each page you can slide through to go through and they could write a story. This is actually set up that they're copying the sentence. In the settings, you can change it so that they have to pick the words in order and choose their words. You can change all sorts of, so let's do Jack and the Beanstalk and see how this one's, so here you have the words set up. There's also that it will go in order, so within your files, and then you can download from the learning grids as well. And I think I'm signed in. And so if you wanted to playing musical instruments, I don't know if it'll download for me. Okay, so it's still giving them without the order. And so you can have that to help students, and then they progress. So you're going with the pictures, you can take the pictures out, and it's really easy to set it up. So you're not creating all of this from scratch. Inspiration is another really great one for mind mapping. So for students who need to know and need to create something. So we have a whole bunch of different templates here. And what I really like about this, and a lot of the mind mapping now works this way. We're going to use this template. And so I can click on here. And I want, no, go away. I want to add a picture, so I can add text here if I want to add a note, and then I can also add a picture. Why is my picture not here? Oh, there we go. So I can have different charts. It wants to access my camera. And then lots of different pictures that I can add. Double tap to add that in. Where are you not going? There we go. So we can have all of this here. Up at the top there's a picture, so that's showing our pictures. Well, I want this to actually go into I want it to actually go into an outline. And so by clicking those lines, I can now have this outline. So the students will have put all of their information in, and then we have, they can export it in an outline as well. I want to show you a couple other ChoiceWorks. There we go. I'm trying to figure out where it was on here. So we'll go here. So this is ChoiceWorks, and so ChoiceWorks has a lot of things built into it, but it's going to give you your schedule. So for students who may need a schedule, we have the schedule. It will read everything to us. So if I hit the little play over there,
School schedule for study teachers, and let's go. Students, wash hands, have a snack, sign up, recess, get out hands, read a book, or get a drink.
so it will read everything to them. And again, I hit the play button, so that it isn't going to just read it automatically. If they need that read, I want to know what does this say. It reads it to me. It gives me a little video so that I can see what to do. You can import that video on your own, slide that over.
All done.
When it's done, and then we have this next one is reading, but we want the student to do this for 10 minutes. So there's actually a timer there. So when I play, it's actually going to show us, and so we're going to see when we're halfway through that there's still 5 minutes left. It's giving them the countdown, but they may not comprehend that countdown, but giving that visual as well. And then when they're finished,
All done.
they can move that over, and so all of these. And then there are a few different types. So there's the schedule, there's waiting, and then there's some social stories of when I'm worried, what I can do, and then they have a little story that goes with that as well, and you can add the videos. So that's ChoiceWorks. A lot of people are using that. It's a really great app. Time Timer was the watch that I talked about, and so you can set up different timers, and they will see the visual of that. You can have it be the whole circle as well. You can also do multiple, so if they needed steps and a timer for each of those, you can add the steps as well, so that they have multiple timers within Time Timer. All right. Easy Phone. So Easy Phone, you wouldn't really use it on an iPad, you would really use it on a phone, but it gives a picture. So for somebody who, with a developmental disability, may not be able to find that person's name, may not be able to find their phone number, and this is both Android and iOS, and so it brings that in with a picture. They just need to tap that, and it will call the person. So they would have to, it's 2 steps. They would have to open the app, and then they would have to click on the person in order to call them. There's also Launcher, and Launcher will do more than just call. So you can see, I have a bunch of things on here, but you could have just phone calls. But Message, I can go into Message. Oh, I've got to be signed into Message because I don't have my messages on here, just because it would be crazy having. So you can actually add an icon to go to a specific person. So when you click on that, it's going to automatically open it. If you have it set for an email, it would actually set it so that the person would, it would go directly to the email. They wouldn't have to put anything except for the body of that email in there. The email address is already in there. You can message, and it would give that person, you can put a picture. So helping those, making fewer steps for individuals, and that's called Launcher. All right. Are there particular apps or things you would like to see? I want to pull up one more thing, and then we'll end. Okay, we set this up. GoTalkNow is a communication app, and so you can configure it however many icons you want on the page. And so we set this up to be just to play music. So we had an individual who wanted to be able to listen to her music. That was very calming for her. And so we set this up that it had the 4 buttons. She could click, so the home page actually had the music on it. So she could pick what her music was, and then to do what she was going to play, pause it to go to the previous or next. And then that would play through the music. So she didn't need, she could no longer, on a CD player, couldn't get those buttons. They were too small for her. This was large, and she was able to play her music, which I loved because it was for calming purposes, and Nickelback was her calming music, so, which was great. So we set that up for her, and then she had the one page. She would pick which album she wanted to listen to, and then it would go here, and she could control it this way. So that was really exciting, and then that can also be a communication as well. Do you have questions for me?
Go over some of the built-ins already in the iPad.
Yep, the accessibility features. Okay, I went through this the last time, so he knows what they are, and is excited about that. Okay, so let me go back so you can see how I got here. So I'm in settings, so the gear at the bottom. Then into General, which is on the left-hand side. I click on General, brings up this menu, and then halfway down is Accessibility. So these are the accessibility features that are built in. They come with it. You don't have to add a single app. It's already going to be able to do this. So I'm just going to kind of talk about some of these. VoiceOver is for somebody who is blind, and it's going to read everything on the iPad. It's going to tell you the orientation. It's going to tell you what the icons are. It can be very scary if you don't know how to use it. So you always want to have your shortcut turned on and off. So if you go all the way to the bottom, it asks you your accessibility shortcut, and so you can actually turn on what you want your accessibility shortcut to be. Your accessibility shortcut is three taps on your home button, and so that's how it's going to turn on and off. So if you turn VoiceOver on, it's going to actually be able to, the 3 taps on your home button will turn that off. You can also turn it on and off with Siri, and so you can actually say, hey Siri, turn on VoiceOver. I said it quietly. Okay, we know you do. It's because I knew she would turn it on. So you can do it with your voice as well, and it will turn on and turn off as well. So making sure that that is turned on. All right, so accessibility shortcut, are really, if you're going to start playing with the accessibility, make sure that those are set. Zoom is going to magnify your screen, so you can get the little bar here, and then you can move that around your screen as well. So we're going to have to get back to that button. Great. There we go. There we go. Okay. Magnifier. I really like Magnifier. We have Magnifier on, and so if you triple click, it's at the bottom. So if we triple click, I double clicked. We want to turn Magnifier on, and so now it makes the camera into a magnifier. So I can change this back to, oh, it's inverted, regular color. So let me magnify this. And then I can change the brightness, and then I can go back here to my magnification. The buttons are small on this, so for somebody who may have difficulty getting to these buttons, that can be difficult, but it is a great magnifier. If we hit the camera button, it's not going to take a picture, it's just going to freeze it, so then I can use my finger to move it around. So maybe you're trying to read a pill bottle, and you want to read that number. Well, you don't want to have to hold this, you just want to freeze the magnification of it so that you can then read that. I always like to tell people this is really for somebody who you're out and about and need to be able to magnify something. You can also see that you can change the colors, so somebody who needs the color contrast is possible as well. And I'm going to slide back through these. There we go. All right, so turn that off. Let me readjust this. Like really twisted. Okay. Speech. This is the I'm going to go with something in particular that you wanted me to show in accessibility. Okay, this is a really good one. So I'm going to show this and then we'll stop there if that works for people. So in speech, so you can see I was in accessibility, under vision is speech, and we have speak selection and speak screen. Speak selection is when you actually highlight with your finger some text and it will read that selection. The screen will read everything on the screen. Speak screen is different voiceover because voiceover is all of your icons. Speak screen is once you're into something, you're just turning on for it to read that. So I have these both turned on. If they're turned off, it's not going to give you the option. So realize that you have to actually have them turned on in order to be given the option to do that. So they're both turned on. And I'm going to, I am on Wi-Fi, so we should be good there. Trying to look for something that's not video. I'm going to go to our website. Probably because I'm not on. Okay, this will work. This is Bookshare. So if I want to read that paragraph starting learn, I'm going to tap with my finger and then I'm going to pull and highlight it. So once that's highlighted, you see that I can either copy, I can look something up, or it says speak. Speak is what you're tapping in order to have that selection, because we're using speak selection. You've selected this, and so now you're going to have that selection speak. And it is reading it. It's because we're projecting and all these things happen. It does read it. You know what it might be? Because I turned the volume down. because when we first started, it was really loud. Okay, so that did that. Now if you want to speak the screen, you do a 2-finger swipe down from the top.
Bookshare homepage, but then search browse. Is Bookshare for me?
You can see it highlighting.
Get involved. Help Center, My Bookshare. Get started. Sign up.
And so it brings up this little screen. I'm able to pause it. You saw that it moved over. After it reads a little bit, it moves over. You can actually change your speed of reading. So the rabbit's going to go faster, the turtle's going to go slower, and then you can actually do the fast forward and pausing that as well. And then if we want to turn that off, take it away, we can just hit the X. So those are 2 ways to get it read to you. So without even having any apps, you can have the text read aloud to somebody. So, are there any questions? I just want to look at, see if there's other. You can change the size of text. We talked about the keyboard. You can change what your subtitles look like on videos and your audio descriptions. So, all right. If there's anything you want to see after, if you have other questions for me, you know, I'm happy to answer those or show you any other apps that are here.
How can families get in contact with you guys if they wanted to?
Our website is www.atinnh.org. And then my email is stacy.driscoll, DRISCOLL, @unh.edu. And I'm happy, you know, to answer questions. If I can't answer it, I'll tell you I can't answer it, but more than happy to try to help you find the resources that you need.
Are there any apps for adults? They seem to be more elementary focused, or
There are lots of apps for adults.
for independent living?
Can Plan. Nope, it's in this folder. And last I tried this, it didn't project well, so it may crash on us. So Can Plan, it's changed because it's updated. So what this will do is you can set your whole tasks, and it will go through the tasks, reading them aloud. Why are you not? And you can add the reminders. Hang on. Welcome to Can Plan. It's changed since last time I opened it. And this happens. Check out the example task. Let's go with that. All right, there we go. This is what it usually looks like. All right, so make coffee. And so you can see it gives you the steps, it reads it, it also has speak at the bottom.
Make coffee.
It's reading it, it's just not coming through there. Tells you the step, you can also have it speak it.
Coffee pot with cold water.
And so it's reading those steps. You can also import videos, so if you wanted someone step by step, here's the video of what you need to do, and you could also record that individual doing it, so they can see themselves doing that in order to go step by step.
So you have to create it yourself.
Yes. Yep, but it is pretty easy to just go through and here's your video, and then they can just swipe through and just going, swipe. I'm just taking my finger and just flicking to go through these steps. And then done. You can also, so you can add a task here. It gives you the step, schedule it, choosing a photo. So it gives you really the steps on what you need to do, and you just fill those in, and then it will give you the next page as well. So there is that. We have just press record, and so this, you click on it and it automatically starts recording. You don't have to do anything else. And so in doing that, it's going to record. Say and Go opens and you don't have to tap it. This one you need to tap it. So it will record it, and then it will save that recording. So if they need to remember to do something, they don't need to type anything in. They can simply just hit Say and Go, or just tap record, and it's going to record that for them. And then they can save it, they can email it, they can play it back. You don't want me to play it back, or I don't want to play it back. 30/30 is another really good one. 30/30 does the steps. It's all, you can add icons, but it's really more of text-based. But it gives you your list of what you need to do. As you finish that, you just click and it goes to the bottom of your list. It sets a timer. So we have the timer going, and like on, and it's not showing it, yeah it is. Like on ChoiceWorks, how we had the circle, the color going around, you have that visual as well for them. You can, this is set to like set it up, so all of those icons can be hidden, so they would be able to delete it and things like that. So that's 30/30. I really like that one a lot. Do is my favorite. Do is what I use. Again, it's text-based, but you can add a reminder. I have it, it's attached to my Apple Watch, so I have it attached to a wearable, so it's going to actually give me that notification, and so I can, which this is something I'm supposed to be doing, and I want it to remind me at noontime, and hit OK, and so that's here. It's going to remind me. I can also set, so I have it to snooze every 5 minutes. I can change that whatever I would like, whether I want that to be every hour that I want it to remind me. So I can have snooze so that it's every minute, which can be good for like medication reminders. So Pillboxy is a really good one for medication reminders, because you can put a, I'm going to actually turn this off because it's going to start running. So Pillboxy is one. You can actually put the picture of medication in there, and then have the reminder set. What I want to show you in settings, because anything that you're doing reminders, this is really, really, really important. So in your settings, it says notifications. So it gives me all of my apps. So when you download an app and it says, do you want to get notifications? If it's a reminder app, you do want notifications, because if you say no, you don't want notifications, it's not going to tell you anything. So you can set it, but it's never going to show up. So you do need to allow it to give you notifications. There are some apps that, you know, want to give me a notification. Well, there's nothing that I need to be notified of, so I don't need my iPad notifying me of all of those things. So let's go into Do. So I have allow notifications. So let's say you download the app, it asks if you want notifications, and you say no. Well, now you realize, oh, I do need notifications. So you just go into notifications, and if you've said no, this is what it'll look like. You just click on to allow notifications. Now, here, and it's changed in iOS 11, I don't have this updated to 11. If you choose that you don't want it, you want your style of none, it's not going to notify you. So you don't want that. If you do banner, you can see it's popping and going away. Well, individuals who have difficulty with completing tasks, those of us who are busy, that disappears and we're done. So it went away and we no longer remember that we needed to do that. So I highly recommend leaving it on alerts, because alerts will be that it is going to stay there. And iOS 11, I think they've changed it to intermittent, which makes sense, and persistent. So intermittent, it's just going to intermittently tell you you need to do it, and persistent, it's going to stay there. And so you still can click it and say, you know, okay, I've done it, when you really haven't, or that you're done, but it at least makes you physically touch the device before dismissing that notification, instead of it just disappearing and you've missed it because you're doing 6 other things. So that's my spiel on notifications. Any other questions? And if you go to our website, we have different lists of apps there as well. And if you're looking for something in particular, email me, and I have a few other lists that I keep. So. So I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.